In the 19th century, governesses held a very precarious position within the Victorian household. A governess was normally a young woman who was single in the world, often without family, and she was hired by the master of the household or the mistress of the household to educate their children. As neither a servant nor a family member, the position that a governess held was very precarious. As a result of this, the life of the governess could be very lonely and sad indeed. This seclusion from society often left these governesses vulnerable. They were meant to be modest, gentle, reserved, dignified, and this did not equip them well with dealing with abuses of power. Sometimes governesses were overworked by their mistresses, they weren't given enough time off, and they were often exhausted from looking after the children almost 24 hours a day. Governesses were also vulnerable to the sexual advances of other members of the household, whether that was the people in power or whether it was from other male servants. There are many examples of governesses being kissed, groped, and otherwise assaulted, and yet if she went to the mistress or master of the house, it was generally presumed that she'd given off the wrong kind of impression. And sometimes the husband or the man of the house fell in love with the young governesses, and sometimes they proposed. Just think of Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester. Far more common than marriage proposals or elopements was everyday instances of sexual assault. And there are some instances of governesses taking their assailant to court over it, with some mixed results. If the assault happened outside in the open, it was far more likely that she would succeed in her case because there were likely to be witnesses. If there weren't witnesses, she didn't really stand much chance at all. Some poor governesses were also vulnerable to physical abuse and even murder. Many of these women were without family members and without close friends, and so they really were alone in the world. And as a result, some people took advantage of this. In fact, there was a case in 1893 of a Mr. Clark who had fallen in love with his governess and had sort of packed off his wife so that he could live with his new mistress, I guess. This young governess was called Miss Crossland, and she later went missing, and people assumed that she'd just moved on or had died in childbirth. It wasn't until 40 years later that her body was discovered by railway workers excavating a field. It was discovered that Miss Crossland had been violently murdered.